Okay, so this is an example of some of the ways that we can use the hardware on the board. Um, the buzzer is located up here, and it's mapped to A3. And so in this code, we're going to just have a 50 millisecond pulse, and then to turn it on, and then a 500 millisecond to turn it off. Hopefully you can hear that. So if you wanted to, for example, have a longer delay here, you could have something like 2000 milliseconds. Or if you wanted to have, for example, something where the delay was a little bit longer. I'd also find a way to quickly turn this off because it gets irritating pretty quickly. And again, you can put a little piece of masking tape or something over the buzzer to mute that or make it a little quieter. So that's the buzzer. So here's the second example. And here we're reading the LDR and reading it. And if the value is less than 70 in this case, it calls a function called beep, which simply does a 50 millisecond pulse and a 200 millisecond off time. I do a little bit of scaling here as I described in the PowerPoint presentation. And each, you're going to have to check and see which, what values your LDR works at because they're always a little bit different. Okay, so let's see what happens here. The code is running. No real way to tell what's happening yet, but if I put my hand over the LDR, you can hear it there. Okay, the next example we're going to look at here is the using the speaker and the tone function. So in this case, I'm not using a random value. I'm just, I'll get to that in a second. But here I'm using a tone function and pin 12 at 400 hertz, kind of a low frequency with a half-second delay. And then I'm also using a function called no tone, which basically will turn the speaker off for half a second. So if I hook the speaker up here, you can probably hear that. If I double the frequency, it should go up an octave. And so on. So you can change the different pitches. In this case, we're using pin 12 because it's hardwired to the actual speaker connector. Now in this case, I'm going to use a random number with a delay of a half second. Whoops, something isn't working there. I forgot to uncomment my random number. So now we're going to generate a random tone. So it's going from this range of 100 hertz to 5 kilohertz. And if I change this to a much faster rate, this is kind of what I was talking about with the science fiction movies. So you can kind of get an idea of what you can use, what you can get with a random value there. And we can play around with the delay times. To get some kind of cool effects. I think if we go fast enough, we'll almost get like a white noise effect. Or something that sounds like static. White noise is basically a combination of lots of different frequencies, almost kind of at the same time. So that just kind of gives you an idea of some ways that you can use this tone function and also use random values. Next up we have the NeoPixel strip. And this is just a super simple example where I am turning on just one pixel, which is pixel number 1. They start at 0 on the top and continue down. And this is the red value, the green value, and the blue value. So if I run this code, you'll see that it'll turn on one of the pixels. And if I change this, for example, to 5 here, and I can put some other color values here. For example, if I wanted to do red and green, let's see what we end up with there. You're going to get some different color combinations. So this is pretty cool because you can really play around with a lot of the values, and using the random function, you can get lots of different effects here. The delay really isn't doing any playing any role in this. So next I'll show you kind of a quick sequence that we can do with the LEDs. Okay, and for my final little demo with this using the NeoPixels, if you take a look at this, I borrowed parts of this from an example piece of code. But the idea is that we're going to create 3 different chase sequences. There's a function down here called chase that basically will sequence the LEDs, and then each of these different functions will call a different color that it's displaying. So they'll kind of chase each other. So let me run this so you can see what it looks like. So it's just changing red, green, and blue. There's a weird glitch here. I'm not sure what's going on with that green LED, something with the array here. But this is also an example of where we can use arrays to send data to the pixels to change the colors. So lots of options here, especially when you start getting into random values. And this is just RGB. We could certainly change some colors here. Like if we wanted to change up the, maybe the colors here as we're displaying them. There you can start to see some of the other colors. Okay, so in the other video, it shows you how to hook up all of these devices. Make sure to watch that before you actually get into the coding.